Okay, what's your name?
Desiree. Oh, Desiree Negron.
Okay, and where are you from?
Puerto Rico.
And when did you move to the States?
2012.
And why did you come here?
I came here actually to study first,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm finishing my MBA and now working here at Kegel.
And where did you go to college?
Weber International.
And what was your major there?
Marketing.
Okay. What age did you begin learning English?
I was like 4, 3 or 4.
And did your family also speak English?
Yes.
What was your reason for learning it?
In Puerto Rico, when you go to school, you need to learn English since you start school.
Mm-hmm.
So Spanish first and then English as your second language. So we've been learning English since very, very little.
So it's a requirement to graduate?
Yes.
And then how was your transition once coming here to the States and having to speak English more?
It's harder just because of how you have the verb and the adjective placement in Spanish, so you'll get confused many times, and sometimes you think in Spanish and then speak
Yeah.
English, but the longer you're here, it's easier to just think in English and then you just...
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that with your adjectives and your description of your like nouns and all of that, because I used to take Spanish, and I never had a hard time like placing everything, but I know we're learning, and they emphasize how people struggle with adjectives and all that.
I mean, it's easy to write it than to speak it just because you're thinking quick. So if, let's say you're talking to me and then it's like, 2 minutes thinking, oh, how am I going to say this? So...
And what about social issues and trends? Like, I mean, I guess you didn't, immigrate here because you're from Puerto Rico and it's U.S. territory. But did that affect your education any, like with other classmates? Like, did you have to have differentiated instruction when it came to your assignments, or?
I mean, thank God Weber is... How can I explain this? They have so many people from different countries, so they understand maybe the struggles that not everyone is from the United States. So when you ask them, they're not against it. You asking them, like other professors, that they do expect you to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
So that's something good here, at least. But there are places that it's like, oh, if you don't understand this, for example, if they listen to you with an accent, they immediately think you don't know English. So they try to get someone that will speak your language. But that's actually worse. Like, it makes us feel worse just because, we're really trying to fit in, but yet you're still rejecting us and putting us aside, So...
Did you ever get, like, any of your materials for your classes, like your textbooks, in Spanish instead of English?
Just because where I studied in my school, everything was in English except our Spanish books. But the class was taught in Spanish, except obviously English. So
what about at college, though? Did you
at
get
college?
Any materials in Spanish?
No.
And then what about your social language versus your academic language? Like, when you first came here, did you always speak more like properly in English? Like, you always kept it like more professional, or was like when you came here it was more at a social level where you were just...
The thing is, since I wasn't really exposed in Puerto Rico to being able to talk so much English, maybe in Spanish I have more slang than in English, so I would try to maintain it as proper in a way as how I was taught to speak it. So in a way it's more proper than normal.
Yeah. And what about... This one says relate the nature and role of culture. Okay, so what about your culture in Puerto Rico is different here?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the biggest difference when you came here that was like a huge culture shock?
Well, in Puerto Rico, when we say hello to people, when we see someone that we know, we normally give a kiss on the cheek and a hug. Here, it's more dry. It's more unless you're family, then they'll do that, and it's still a little, here.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people confuse maybe the way you are with being maybe flirtatious. So just because we're very open, we're very caring, lovable, just because we're such a small island and a lot of people know each other, we treat everyone like almost as family.
Mm-hmm.
Here, you don't see that as much. So that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed.
Have you lost your like identity any since being here? Like do you speak more English now?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so you still
Only
speak Spanish?
only at work. At the house, I speak
Okay.
Spanish, and everything is still Spanish. But at work, it's mainly English.
So you haven't lost like that identity of like we always discuss it as, they teach English and they drill English into your head, and then eventually you lose your first language. But
I think maybe just because I came here and at an older age,
Mhm.
it hasn't affected me as much as maybe younger people. That I do have friends that have come to live to the United States when they were maybe 8, 9, 10, and it's a transition age that it's like you're still learning a lot from Spanish and English at the same time, but when it gets to only English, then English becomes your first thing. But at least for me, just because I came here at an older age when I was 19, I already knew maybe the difference, or I don't know how to explain it. Like at the house, I live with my boyfriend and he speaks Spanish.
Mhm.
So we only speak Spanish at the house. But here it's only English. So
What about writing in school? When you were in grade school, they taught writing as well as oral language.
yes.
So you didn't have a problem with writing it either once it came to being more full time with English in college.
It really wasn't a big issue. I don't know, maybe if it's because English is our second language and they want to emphasize more on English, meaning more literature, more grammar. Like where I study, we had 2 times a week that we had a special class just for grammar.